Be the change you wish to see in the world. These are some of the most recognized words spoken by Mahatma Gandhi during his lifetime. He was a leader in early India in the 1940s and led India to independence while inspiring movements for civil rights, nonviolence, and freedom all across the world. I first heard this quote in the summer of 2009 when I was right here in New Orleans for the youth gathering. And I remember thinking to myself, yeah, that's a great idea. I'm gonna go home and change the world. Of course, when you're surrounded by 37,000 other Lutherans, changing the world seems a whole lot easier than it really is. But by the time I got back to school, I had let go of any ambitions I had to make a change in the world. The passion that I felt during the summer had disappeared, and I quickly fell back into my daily routine of just trying to fit in. It wasn't until I applied for college that I was reminded of these words of wisdom. I remember opening my acceptance letter this past January, and there was the quote staring back at me, "Be the change you wish to see in the world." And then again, during my high school graduation ceremony, one of the speakers chose to send us off with one last piece of advice. Be the change you wish to see in the world. I wish I could have just sent a text to God saying, "Bro, I got the message." Because when you continue to hear the same message, you know it simply cannot be coincidence. You begin to wonder how the Holy Spirit is involved. So as I began to think about this quote and how God could be calling me to put it to use in my life, I took a step back and looked at the world around me. It's clear to see where change is needed. While the richest 20% of the world's population commands 75% of the income, the poorest 40% must share only 5% of that money. Now I can stand here and I can read you statistics all night, and you can sit there and think to yourself, man, that really sucks. Someone should do something about that. Gandhi's words serve as a call to each of us to be that someone, just as Jesus calls us all to walk with God as He changes the world, one person at a time. As I look at the world around me, it isn't hard to find things that need to be changed. They're splashed all over news channels, and every time I walk past a newsstand, my gaze is bound to be met by a vivid front-page picture of someone in need. One day, it could be those living in villages of West Africa where people exist on less than $1 a day. Another day, it could be the shattered images of a war-torn Middle East. And today, it's the devastating headlines of Aurora, Colorado. Jesus calls each of us to not just read the headlines and look at the pictures, but to go and do something about it, to be the change. We are God's hands and feet in this world, and the challenge falls to us to hear God's invitation to go and build relationships, to walk with others as we serve God, to reflect God's light into the darkest of places in this world. The newspaper, that blog post, your Twitter feed should no longer be our easy reading. They should be our call to action, a to-do list handed to us by God. We are a generation of compassion. We have shown the world that we care about those in need. Through use of social networking sites, the youth of the world propelled the Coney 2012 video to over 90 million views on YouTube. We made Coney famous. And when I first saw the video, I was fired up. I was ready to go out and capture Coney myself. But as the weeks wore on and more critics arose, the flame dwindled. And I realized I'd rather not go out to DC in the middle of the night to put up posters. We are not lacking in our compassion. However, now we hear God's call to turn our compassion into action and truly make a difference. As I look to the future, I have great hope for our generation. I plan to study integrated science and technology to develop renewable energy technologies. I expect to travel, appreciate, and preserve this world that God has blessed us with. And I want to commit to sharing a portion of my income with those who need it most. However, one day, I hope to not only be able to give money to feed those in poverty, but to go to the places where poverty exists, both across the ocean and across the street. I want to get to know the names and listen to the stories of those who are not as different from me as I once thought. I want to laugh at their jokes and listen to their lives. I want to connect a face, a name, and a family to the struggle for survival of extreme poverty. And I want to demonstrate God's love, not just anonymously, but personally. These years of our youth are what shape our character and our faith. As we all grow older and stronger in our faith journeys, I challenge each of us to keep this quote in mind so that with every decision we make, we can ask ourselves, am I being the change I wish to see in the world?